A very good morning, and thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It's the 11th of February into week two of the month, and this is the 2 meter temperature normally so far for the month of February. You can see here quite interesting the persistency and warmth extending from Siberia and towards the pole. Very cold, the north shore of Alaska. Greenland's very cold compared to normal. Texas is the focus of cold over the United States, and there is little to no cold, if you notice, over Europe here, and there's no surprise there. The only place that actually would be below normal, pretty much anywhere in Europe, is interestingly Scotland, and it's all thanks to the jet stream and the areas of low pressure pushing across, kind of dragging in some cold air from Greenland into the northern portion or the far north of the British Isles, keeping it slightly below normal here. But it is poor in terms of temperature across Europe with regards to winter anyway. And it looks as if it's going to continue. So this is the month of February so far. And like I say, you've kind of got, it actually shows up here as average up across the northwest of Scotland here. Probably a couple of minus figures here with regards to temperatures below normal. Been a cold month so far in Iceland. Of course, we've had continuous snow events up here with very deep areas of low pressure frequently battering this portion of the world here. And no real surprise, Iceland is very subject to some pretty extreme weather during this time of the year, and certainly has been on the colder side of normal here, but very, very warm. And notice here across western portions of Russia and really across the entire continent, including 90% or above of the UK above normal here. So it looks as if when you compile everything and you look at the next few weeks here, we could in fact be talking about one of the warmest Februaries on record. Let's have a look at the GFS ensemble here, because this is the 5-day increments here, and you can see here as I play through it, very much dominated by high pressure underneath low pressure. So a classic positive North Atlantic oscillation, very flat, very zonal jet stream here, and really that indicates a complete open door for the Atlantic sweeping mild ocean air across the continent here. So no real cold to speak about. And this takes us out to the 27th of February. If we look at the 2 meter temperature anomalies here, it certainly does make for dire watching with regards to any type of cold here. You can see here as I play through the loop, the far northwest of the UK is the only place really that kind of gets in on any chill. But look at this here. Look at the continent. It's just a blowtorch, isn't it? So I think this could be one of the warmest Februaries on record for the continent of Europe, possibly for the UK as well. There has been, of course, quite a few warm Februaries of late. You only have to go back to 2009, it's either 2019 or 2020. I think it might have been 2020 actually, where of course we've seen the ridiculous 21 Celsius in the south of England during that particular February. So it looks as if we're going to see another warm February, and in stark contrast, of course, to last year. We're approaching a year since the temperature reached minus 23 at Braemar. I drove up through up to Kinbrace that particular morning. The temperature was minus 21 on the car, and that was certainly the coldest temperature I've ever experienced in the UK anyway. I did experience colder in Canada back in 2003, I think it was. And I also experienced minus 20-ish in Chicago back, I think it was 2006 or 2007, I can't remember which. But certainly last February, it was the coldest February, of course, since 1956 for the British Isles, and the coldest temperature overall since December of 1995. So, of course, that was pretty significant. We also had the coldest January since 2010 in the UK last year as well. So rather than it being a teaser winter last year, I think it was actually the winter when all is said and done. But it's going to be interesting, of course, looking at next year and what we may see. But of course, you can pretty much say that the winter is now gone, and we may get some nagging chill, I think, as we push into the March, April, possibly even May period this year. So I will look more and more into that as we go forward here. But certainly it is going to be a very, very mild February when all is said and done here. Not a particularly clear view, I'm afraid, but this is, I'll try and see if I can actually bring up a larger image for you to kind of, so it's a wee bit easier. There we go. So it's a wee bit easier for you to see the jet stream. This is the global view because it is very interesting to see just how flat the jet is at the moment across the entire planet. You can see here that we've got almost a straight jet here all the way from Africa right through the Middle East, northern India, of course, probably talking about some very, very extreme winds crossing over the top of Everest at the moment with the jet stream right on top of the peak. That would be a perfect setup here for tremendous winds right over the top of the Himalayas at the moment. We've got an incredibly strong jet here, if you notice here, exiting China. And, Japan, of course, we've had the record-breaking snowfall in parts of Japan, and it looks as if we're going to continue to see that as we go forward. And this jet extends well out into the Pacific, then it takes this kind of northward track, allowing the cold air from northern Canada to drop into the centre of the United States here. Then, of course, we've got two areas of jet stream winds here. One way up at the top, well over the heart of Greenland. We've also got the secondary split jet here coming off North America, as you can see here. And then as I play through the loop, what we'll see is that jet disappearing to the north, and we then see the focus of jet stream winds coming off North America. And notice here we still have this kind of split, this double-pronged jet here, but look at the position of it and look at how flat it is. So we've got a very intense winds here coming in early next week here across the Atlantic here. And this sets the stage, by the way, for some strong cyclogenesis. We've seen stormy conditions, of course, since we really broke down that area of high pressure that was so persistent during the month of January over the British Isles. It's now sunk south. It's still strong between the Azores and Iberia, but notice here that the position of the jet stream is literally pointing straight at the UK, and that means one low after the next bombarding the UK, and very little in the way of cold, because the problem that we've got is we don't have this jet focusing up towards Greenland, and therefore with low pressure coming in, kind of drawing that cold off Greenland here. Of course, always modifying with that, 1,000-mile stretch between Greenland and the British Isles. What you've got is more ocean air getting driven into the UK, so therefore the temperatures are not cold at all, really. So we just continue with this type of setup here. Speaking about the polar vortex here, it looks as if we're going to see over the next few weeks increase in strength of the polar vortex. You can see here, this is off Marco Patagna's Twitter page here. Very, very good stuff that he puts up. I quite like to see his tweets because it's always very interesting actually what he shows to his followers. If you haven't already, do follow him on Twitter for some very good analysis. And you can see here exactly what we're talking about here. So we've got this perfect donut shape of very powerful U winds here surrounding the Arctic stratosphere here. So this is a very powerful polar vortex. There's no question about that. And it looks as if it's going to maintain itself. And looking at the 3D structure of the vortex itself, perfectly aligned almost directly over the Arctic region here. And, that is a very, very solid, very strong vortex indeed here. And it looks as if we're going to just maintain this through the next wee while here. So This is taking us out to the 26th of February here, so there is certainly no sign of anything changing with regards to the strength of the vortex, and therefore we then maintain the same type of pattern here. The jet stream will maintain itself in a strong position. The North Atlantic Oscillation as well as the Arctic Oscillation firmly positive, and the storms will continue. And I do believe that during the second half of the month, even in the not so distant future, we may see more named storms, more problems when it comes to storminess, ferry disruption, closures to high-sided vehicles over bridges, and tree damage, damage to property, things like that. These areas of low pressure do have a tendency to be very strong, as well as them pushing ocean air into the continent, keeping things very warm indeed. We do also have a primed environment, atmospherically speaking, for some very deep areas of low pressure. The next system comes in through the weekend here. As you can see, a mixture of rain, sleet, and snow, not particularly cold air mass to speak about. So it doesn't look as if we're going to get much in the way of snow, I don't think. But you notice here that we've got the development of this secondary feature here, and that is going to be a problem, I think, as we push towards the end of the weekend and into the next work week here. You can see that area of low pressure developing at 988 millibars, by the way. So this could be quite a wind maker, and very heavy rainfall as well, which is interesting because, of course, remember how dry it's been this winter across the UK, likely directly in response to the La Nina that we've got still going at the moment. But that area of low pressure kind of moves through in a kind of southwest to northeasterly direction, if you will. That scoots on out into the continent. We've got some slight slack northeasterly winds comes in on the back side of that. And then as we press forward here, we've got more systems to speak about coming in. Look at the mess that's coming in off the Atlantic. Of course, you've got a 1034 high centered between the Azores and Portugal. We've got all sorts of low pressure between Iceland and Greenland. And in between where the jet stream is roaring, we've got a lot of weather, a lot of energy loaded up and getting driven into the British Isles here. And you can see here as we go forward through the middle of next week, low pressures deepening into the 940s millibars, severe gale force winds, heavy rain, even heavy snow up over the high ground will be a problem as we go through next week, and just get one system after another riding that jet stream into the British Isles here. So a very energetic pattern, no question about that. I would be very surprised if we don't see a couple of named storms over the next couple of weeks or so here, and it will definitely be interesting to keep an eye on that. Looking at the snow prospects here, and you can see that we have this kind of constant waxing and waning of snow cover. It shrinks, then expands, shrinks and expands. We've seen that all last week. We're going to continue to see that. As you can see here, through the weekend, the snow almost disappears off the chart. Then it comes back once again on Monday. And then we'll see a pretty significant amount of snow that develops here during the latter half of next week. Look at this here, Friday the 18th of February, when we've got this massive wind and rain coming through. We've also got a little bit colder air that the models are indicating as well. So the snow's not all done, even though it's going to be a mild pattern overall. Remember, the north of Scotland kind of tends to stay average, maybe even slightly below average as we go through the remainder of the month. I think the only place this month that will be slightly below average will be the north of Scotland. Very little in the way of snow across the rest of the UK, but we do get a couple of glimmers of hope with some of these systems, depending on where they come in. You notice here that we've got some snow showing up even in more southern positions here as we go forward here. So I think I've rambled long enough today. If I don't get a video tomorrow, I will be back on Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share and subscribe. And of course, always hit the bell for the latest notifications of each upload. Hope you have a great weekend ahead, and I'll be back again soon with more. Bye for now.